last couple of days, we have heard that Bristol, in performance league tables, on last year's performance, so that's our last year's year 11, has come out at 148 out of 149 local authorities in England.
It affects like the whole town because it's basically putting the whole of Bristol down. It's not just putting down like just the schools and that, it's just saying that basically Bristol's just rubbish.
If like kids get told, oh, Bristol schools are bad, then most kids think, well, why should I try? Our schools are crap anyway.
One man on the radio said yesterday, if you watch Bristol students leaving Bristol schools, they are the best advert to send your child somewhere else.
I am very concerned about the future of my son's education. The thought of sending him to a South Bristol school scares me to death.
Last night, the Bristol Evening Post ran a story that said 3 critical things. It said, bad schools, bad teachers, bad students.
In 2004, just 35% of the students at Bristol's state comprehensive schools gained 5 A-star to C grade GCSEs against a national average of 50%. And it's not just at 16 that they're lagging behind. Bristol's figures place them near the bottom of LEA rankings at all key stages.
It's not a good state of play, is it really, for a city as vibrant as Bristol to have an education service that is underperforming to such an extent.
And Bristol's underperformance is not new.
Considerable resources have been ploughed into Bristol schools over a number of years, and there are schools that are doing a very good job. There are very successful schools in Bristol, but overall I think that we haven't seen the kind of improvement that one would expect from that level of investment or that amount of effort.
So why is Bristol performing so badly in the league tables? And what are its schools and the local education authority doing to fight back? In an effort to find out, we're going inside the city's largest state secondary school, Brislington Enterprise College, and some of its feeder primary schools in South Bristol, an area with some of the poorest results in the city. We'll spend a week with its head teacher, John Matthews.
I think the publication of the league tables this year has had quite a dramatic impact on a broad range of colleagues and students. Here we are working as hard as we can, and the progress isn't being made, and significantly across the authority, the level of progress that people were expecting has not been maintained.
John Matthews came to Brislington in 1999 and took over as head teacher 4 years later. He sees improving the city's league table position as a vital first step forward.
148 out of 149 as an LEA in league table positions is an unacceptable position for everyone involved in education in Bristol. It's unacceptable for parents, it's unacceptable for teachers, and it's unacceptable for the LEA itself. What it's doing is masking the good work that is happening within the schools, but until the standards raise to at least national average, no one is going to be interested in where there are pockets of excellence, because the overall position is seen as one that is unsatisfactory.
Underperformance has been an issue in the city for some time, and particularly since 1996, when the county of Avon ceased to exist and education was returned to the control of Bristol City.
Bristol inherited the majority of the schools that were in the most challenging circumstances, whereas the surrounding authorities like South Gloucestershire, North Somerset, Bath and North East Somerset had those traditionally more successful schools because of the more affluent areas in which they were based. So one could always anticipate that Bristol's results would not compare particularly well with those surrounding authorities.
The current LEA averages tables bear this out. Bristol also has a poor record on attendance. Unauthorised absence is twice the national average, and the figures for secondary school attendance are in the bottom 3 nationally. So, are the students themselves at fault? Is their poor education record their own responsibility? Ofsted research has demonstrated that high rates of absence are linked to low academic achievement. And so improving attendance is something John Matthews has been working hard to address.
We'd been, for example, in 1999, we were at 84% attendance. Our first breakthrough was really to reach 90% on overall attendance.
And as attendance records have improved, so too have results.
We've achieved 37% 5A star to C 2004, and that's a 10% improvement. The issue for us is that in terms of our students, we are still an underperforming college.
If non-attendance is related to low achievement, might the condition of the school buildings also affect performance?
We use a phrase which lots of people use, which is that the buildings depress aspiration. If you tell children they are of value within the institution, and then this is their day-to-day experience, I firmly believe that what we offer has to be better in many ways than they have in any other aspect of their life. Whilst we work hard to maintain a litter-free environment and we work hard to decorate and clean, the buildings themselves just consistently work against us. This is one of the finer parts of the building. Water tanks 2 floors up, leaking right down through, coming down through the concrete, and that's the impact that we're left. And this is the oldest part of the school. This was built in 1956.
Certainly, Brislington staff have noted that pupils' behaviour is significantly better when they're using this city learning centre, built 2 years ago on Brislington's site. And across Bristol, they're hoping that this will also be one of the benefits of the massive rebuilding programme, which will replace over half of Bristol's 18 state secondaries. Brislington's own £30 million new building will open in 2008.
What it's going to say is, A, it's going to show people the core value behind education. This is something of real worth. Look at this, the building itself will be a statement of civic pride in education. Then what goes on within the building for the students will be an enhanced experience, because no longer will we be having to make amend. We'll actually have the facilities that enable us to deliver a genuine 21st century education to our students.
John Matthews is clear about the potential benefits of the new building, and equally clear that for that potential to be fully realised, the school must also look closely at improving the quality of its teaching. One of the ways in which they're doing this is through an innovative programme of staff development based on peer observation, as is happening in this Year 8 maths lesson being taught by advanced skills teacher Melinda Hale.
The whole intention of peer observation is that colleagues have conversations about teaching and not necessarily about the issues that stop them doing things. So every colleague is given 17 periods across an academic year where it's available for them to use in peer observation.
The idea is that we improve our own teaching. It's a circle whereby we're going on to try and boost up our own teaching by plugging up ideas from other people's lessons. Today I've come and observed a maths lesson. As a maths teacher, that doesn't sound very strange, but in the past I've observed science lessons, French lessons, and so far every single lesson I've collected an idea that I've been able to use in my own classroom.
It's good to be able to sit and talk to the students and get them to explain to you. So you really do get the students' perception of learning, and you really do get the idea of what they're stuck at and what they're good at. And you can't do that just teacher to teacher. Quite often you might come across a student that you teach who maybe reacts entirely different in a different classroom or a different environment or with a different method of teaching. So I find that very interesting.
At the end, they analyse how well the lesson went.
I liked the explain to the alien, what it is we've done today. Now I thought that was fantastic because I felt it get the children to think quite hard about what it is they've done in the class. Okay, and what else did you anticipate to get about this idea? explain to the alien?
We often use an alien because it means they have to explain every mathematical word, so they can't use words that they think everybody will understand. You know, they have to explain what an equation is and what a line is and what a point is, and so it kind of forces them to understand every single term that we're using and not just kind of gloss over them.
Okay.
And it also improves. People have found it particularly useful if they've got a challenging class to watch them with somebody else and pick up techniques on how to manage them, which is relevant to their situation, and you can just go away and use it straight away. It's not like going on a course and coming back and having to work out how it fits your own particular context. Abby.
It's been very important that senior leadership are involved in that process. So I observe colleagues in the peer observation, colleagues observe me, as with all other members of the leadership team. So it's not something that is about just the classroom practitioner, it's at all levels within the organisation. It appears to me that, just to confirm, that we're going to try and over-recruit in specialist subjects, math, science.
One of the reasons the professional development of its own teachers is so important is the difficulty Brislington faces in attracting high-quality new staff to fill its vacancies.
But generally it's fine. It's the middle leaders that we struggle with.
For Bristol LEA, it's a problem across the city, particularly with staff at middle management level.
I've been trying to envisage, if I was external to Bristol at the moment and I read the educational press and I see Bristol at 148th out of 149, what would be my vision of Bristol? What would be my view of Bristol? And if Bristol was advertising alongside neighbouring authorities that are ranked 18th or at varying positions, and there were similar posts on offer, where would I apply?
John's discussing their latest job advert with his two deputy heads. No external candidates have applied.
If we're recruiting from within the institution, they know us, but nationally they don't know us. So somewhere in our documentation, we're not putting over who we are.
I think there's 2 points that we probably need to consider. One is what are they saying about us nationally? But look at the perceptions within Bristol. And secondly, the type of information that we're actually providing to people who are applying to us. You know, is it good enough to attract them to this institution?
If you're at the start of your career, you know, and you're in your trailblazing mode, you know, you're quite up for some of the challenges. If you're a middle leader, you know, why would you want to come and work in Bristol when you could apply for a job anywhere in the country? So I think that we as a school within the LEA and the LEA have to work together far more coherently to make sure that what we're putting out is really attractive to people that they want to come and work here.
However, if staff recruitment and development, non-attendance and the poor condition of the school buildings do contribute towards Bristol Secondary School's low performance, another factor may be the difficulty they have in attracting parents. It's a vicious circle. Because of the league table results, these mums, like just under half of Bristol parents applying for state secondary school, are planning to send their children outside the city.
Well, I'm on tenderhooks at the moment because I'm waiting for that letter to drop through the letterbox telling me which school she's actually going to go to for secondary. Will she go to the local school with her friends? But unfortunately, the local school has not got very good results. Do I send her out of county to a really good school where the whole attitude seems to, I mean, I think there was something like 80% went on to further education and got A to C's, and the whole emphasis seems to be on the production, getting their GCSEs and further education.
Although I would have to appeal to go to a secondary school outside of Bristol, I feel that I would need to do that because I think every child deserves a good education and South Bristol isn't delivering that.
I don't think that the teachers actually expect a lot from their students. They don't really think that they'll achieve very much, and they expect them to settle.